Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ray Chirole and I'm excited to be your new host for the Infor webinar series beginning with the 2026 season and moving forward. I'll be working with our product teams and presenters throughout the year to bring you practical, approachable sessions focused on getting real value from the Infor platform. Today's session with Paul Horn, who will be joining us in just a few minutes, is entitled Getting Started with Mongoose. This webinar is designed for anyone who's new to Mongoose or looking for a foundational understanding of how Infor's rapid application development framework works. We'll cover the essentials of building web applications with minimal coding and walk through a simple example that shows how you can extend your core enterprise solutions. Before we get started, just a quick note for those of you viewing the session on On24. Google Chrome is the preferred browser, and you'll see a set of widgets along the bottom of your screen that will let you customize your view or expand the presentation to full screen using the arrows in the top right corner of the widget. The media player widget controls the audio, so if you don't hear anything, that's the first place to check. If you experience any technical issues, try refreshing your browser by pressing F5, or use the help widget in the bottom of the toolbar. For those of you watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, these platform controls won't apply, but feel free to use the comments if you have any questions. Before we jump into the main part of today's session, I want to take a few minutes to point out something you'll find in the Infor developer community. They're the challenges. These were originally introduced at TechX, and a lot of people have been using them as a hands-on way to explore different parts of the Infor platform. From challenges to a few quick housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded and will be available afterwards. If you register for the webinar, you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording once it's ready. The recording will also be available through our usual channels, which are YouTube and LinkedIn. This session was pre-recorded, but Paul is here live during the broadcast to help answer your questions. We'll do our best to get to as many as we can during the session, and for any questions we don't have time for, we'll follow up afterwards. All the questions and answers will be posted to the Infor developer community, so you'll also be able to find everything in one place after the session. With that, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. Paul Horn is the Senior Director of Product Management for the Infor Industry Cloud Platform. His focus is on citizen development and helping teams deliver creative, real-world business solutions using the Infor technology stack. Paul brings more than 25 years of industry experience. He's worked with Infor from multiple perspectives, including time at an Infor partner and even as a Sightline customer more than 25 years ago. He's also a former Infor consultant and developer, which gives him a strong understanding of both the technical side and the real-world challenges customers are solving. Today, Paul will walk us through the core concepts of Mongoose and show how it is used to build and extend applications with minimal coding. Paul, I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Ray, and welcome to today's webinar, Introduction to Mongoose. First off, we'll throw up a disclaimer that we always throw this up. Basically, everything you're going to see today is production software. Now, the developments that we've done are not production software. They're not things that you can buy, but they are examples of things that you can build within the Mongoose framework. So Mongoose is available to you. The things that we built for it are not, but again, all of the things that you're going to see are production capable and things that you can develop on your own. Quick little agenda today. We'll talk about what is Mongoose and go through some solutions that have been built with Mongoose. Then we'll talk about the Mongoose framework itself and get into the detail of that. And we'll finish off with a demo build of Widget and show you how that looks. So really getting into Mongoose, the first thing, what is Infor Mongoose? And we could get into a lot of detail on this, but really the best definition that I can give it is art of the possible. Mongoose is a development platform. So things that you can imagine, things that you can see as a need for your business, those are the things that we're talking about, is building out solutions with a tool set. And with that, let's go and actually look at the tool set because, we might as well jump right into it. So I'm going to start our production Stargate, which is our production system. And of course, We got SSO there because I've already logged in. So everything that's available you see here. A quick shameless plug for Portal. If I'm sure every customer here has Portal. If you're part of Cloud Suite, you're in multi-tenant, this should look fairly familiar to you. If it does not look familiar to you, and mainly for the reasoning that there's a lot of cool things on the screen, then I implore you to look into Portal and what you can leverage with it. Things like branding your workspaces and using announcements to inform things to your users. And maybe even the new API, the KPI ribbon bar showing custom KPIs that you can build over top of APIs. That's for a different webinar day, but just definitely want to make sure that you're aware of some of the capabilities that we have with our workspaces today in Portal. And speaking of workspaces, we're here to talk about Mongoose today. And if you're going to build out workspaces, you need widgets. And what you build widgets with is something like Infor Mongoose. All of the widgets that you see on this page here today are Mongoose, with the exception of the context viewer in the My Day and the announcements up top. But everything else, all of these stats, the customer list, the orders, the order lines, and the customer credit, those are all widgets built with Mongoose. Now, Mongoose, you might think, well, hey, but I can use this to build large applications, things like Sightline. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But yeah, you can use Mongoose to build anything as small as a widget all the way up to an enterprise class application. So it's something to note when we're talking about building things with Mongoose and what can you build. So let's start here. So on a workspace, I have this list of customers. I can navigate that list. You'll see that it's got some cool graphics in it. And you'll also note that as I click through these customers, things change. And that change is there because of what's called context. So you might have heard the term in context. What that means is when you click on something or when you're in a screen, we can take advantage of the information that's contained in that screen and do something with it in context to the information that you just clicked on. So for instance, I click on Golf Nation, this customer, and if I look over in my context viewer over here, this is where we can expose what's happening in the background. We'll see that it's sending the name Golf Nation, and it's sending also a customer number that we can reference. We can take that information and use it as a filter value for the orders. So this gives us all the orders that are listed for that customer. And we can then click on orders and show order lines. Now that context didn't change in that case, but if I go and change this to a 1, because we're sending these over messages, you'll see that it can send the orders. So I'm sending customers to the orders to filter the orders. I'm sending orders to filter the order lines. This is kind of neat because it allows you to solution with widgets, which is really unique. And it's something that you can utilize within the Mongoose toolset in order to do this. Now we're going to look later on how we can build out a widget like customers. We're not going to get into all of the detail of the context, but know that that's something that you can do with this inside of a workspace. Other things that you can do, you can have links inside of your application. So this can be a drill back into an application. And that application, in this case, is another Mongoose application, but it could be an ERP. So it could be M3, CSD, Sightline, whatever those are. You can drill back into your application and show information, again, in context. So that information can basically be used to build the drill back that you need, which is really just a URL into the information. So again, I have this list of customers. I can drill into the customers. Again, I can maybe bring up one of these smart jobs. And you'll notice that there's another little bit of information down here, update customer credit. I can build functionality that can be put as a widget onto the page. So I never have to actually leave the workspace in order to do simple things where I want to update information, change a quantity, something like that. Obviously, those would be things that would be validated by the ERP. And how do we do this? this is communicating with an API. So we're talking to an API, the API that can then change the information inside of the foundation ERP. So if we go, let's go back to our Gulf Nation and show that again. We have a credit limit here of 250,000. If we go back to our dashboard, we see that 250,000 credit limit here. Let's say they had a good year, so we're going to give them 300,000, and we're going to save that. It now says the credit limit's been updated. I go back to my Gulf Nation, I refresh that, and I see that now I have a credit limit of 300,000. So it's not just reading data through APIs, it's also writing data back through APIs. And that's important because a lot of the interaction that we do with Mongoose when we develop applications is going to be utilizing information from your ERP, or not, but it generally will. You want it to probably use that information, and you need it to be bidirectional. So this is an example where we've done it within a Mongoose application. So again, you can build lots of widgets, any kind of things you can dream up. Again, that art of the possible, that's where you can exist in here and build out widgets and build out a workspace that is specific to you. This isn't published information. We're not providing this. This is something where you build it in Mongoose and you surface it inside of a workspace. And we'll see that a little later on in our presentation. So when we were talking about APIs, obviously that interaction with an existing Infor ERP is important. So let's look at something very similar. So Mongoose is the extensibility engine for all of Infor products. So this is for any kind of ERP that's in the Infor family and Cloud Suite. That includes not just the manufacturing and distribution, it's also for services. So any kind of application that has an API where those APIs are available inside of our API gateway, you can interact with. And we'll talk more about how that actually functions. In this case, I'm using M3 information, so as an API from M3. And you'll notice that this is now a full screen application. So this is a Mongoose-based application that we've built, and it allows us to navigate through M3 price lists. And we can do that in a parent-child relationship. So this is a common thing for Mongoose, where we can establish relationships between parent data and child data, and then display them at the exact same time. So as you navigate parent, the child then changes with that. This is a very simple application. It's literally just showing us read-only data, the data that's come from the application. If I wanted to, I could do something fancy like export the base prices. So this takes this out to a CSV file, and I can open that CSV and see the data inside of a spreadsheet. I could even potentially use that information to feed it back into the application, which is possible through an import. The export feature of that is literally just calling an event to a piece of attached data, and it just exports it as a CSV because it's already in rows and column data. So that's basically how we store all of our information inside of Mongoose. So it's easy to just state, hey, just go and export this information. So once you have a data source, you can then just create a button that triggers an event and allows you to see that data simply. As well, we can do that same drill back. So if I look at my price list, Y1, I can go to M3 base prices. This is now going to start my actual M3 application and take me to the sales price list and show me those items and their associated sales prices. I could also maintain that information in here if I wanted to, but I'd have to drill down into it in order to do that. If I wanted, I can go back to my dashboard, back into my price list, and I can find that same information sitting here. So just to make sure we're sitting at Y1 and I see that sales price. I don't know if I saw that update. Let's just make sure that's correct. Yeah, there we go. So now I see my sales price of $50. I change it to $100 and I go up here and I hit my save button. So what did this do? Well, now it's made it bidirectional. Not only am I reading the data, I'm also using APIs to write back the data. So if I go back into that M3 base prices, I look at my Y1001 and I see a sales price of $100. So what we've shown is that that's a bi-directional use of that price list. So really kind of unique in that you can do that and all within the application. So we'll talk a little bit more about how that interaction works when we start talking about low code and no code and full code. But essentially, this ability to interact that way can be very simply triggered through the population of an API through our API gateway. So there's an M3 example of extensibility. So, and when we talk about extensibility, like I said, we're the extensibility engine for all of Infor, and we have this ability to interact with those ERPs and create new content or existing content and update that content maybe in something that you've developed. So that's for things that we're extending an existing application. But what if I just want to invent something new? I want to create a standalone feature, right? So this was from a development we did a while ago for a customer. They had all of these spreadsheets, right? And we have all of these salespeople, and we take the last year's budget and we put it into a spreadsheet and we split them out, and we give, we've got 50 salespeople and we've got to hand out all these spreadsheets, and then they update that information, they bring it in, and we then compile it all into a single spreadsheet, and we've got to approve it. And if there's questions, we got to have all this interaction. Anyways, the point is that there's a lot of spreadsheets back and forth. And they asked, could we do this inside of an application, some way of being able to manage that? And we said, well, Mongoose is a great tool for doing that. So you could have the budget from last year, right? So you could import that here and put it into a table, very simple. Again, all of the information that we deal with is generally tabular. So it's pretty easy to see that. Then I could hand it out to my sales reps. So sales reps can be associated with a sales role. And I, as a sales rep, Paul Horn, I could log into my application. I can create brand new roles that I can put into IFS. Those then exist inside of Mongoose. They're maintained inside of IFS, and I can assign that sales rep role to all of my sales reps. And then when they come into the application, it will note that they've got a sales rep role, so they don't end up seeing the manager. Now you'll note that I just flipped it up here to make it simple, but I'm just showing you again the art of the possible. You can read in that role and then display for my sales rep name, my budget. And we'll see here that I have, kind of some budget information that I've already been working on. And I have one here that's a 0. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to bring up a budget entry. And, I'm going to look at last year's sales and think, well, we did have a problem with product availability, and I think maybe we're going to be a little bit less this year. So let's just say it's going to be $200,000 that we're going to put in for the budget. But sales budget must be greater than $215,000. Oh, yes, that's right. It can't be anything less than 25% of last year's sales. And this is just a validation that we've put into the application. Mongoose allows you to build these validators on the fly, really quick and easy, no code involved. Essentially, you just go in and you create a validator. It steps you through what's the greater than, less than, what type of message do you want to display, and then you attach it to a component, in this case, or a piece of data. And in this case, that's the sales budget. So I know that it has to be a value greater. Well, let's say we're going to go down a little bit. I'm just going to make sure that we're in the field. $280,000 might be my number, and that's accepted because it passes the validation, which is important. And I might put a budget in there. I'm going to say that my reason code here is, again, that product availability issue. And I could say this product is hard to get, right? And post that. So I've now posted my recommendation for the budget for the next year for that customer. And now it then gets accumulated as a manager. So I switch to my manager role. And again, this could be assigned through a role. I now see all of my sales reps. And at the very top, I see a new one pending. And it's a sales budget for $280,000. for my customer. I see that last year it was 286. That sounds a little bit, low. I don't think it should be that low. I think it should be more like, let's say that he's got to at least match 284,000. We don't want to let him get away with everything. And we'll post that back. And I might want to then give this a reason code and say, needs clarification. Like, why did you do that? I think it should be 284. And I can change the status from pending to rejected. And when I reject it, you'll see it turns red, because we can do conditional formatting of a grid. And that conditional formatting can be based on a value, can be based on high, low values, and then you just tell it what color you want to display inside of that field, and it will automatically. It's very similar to spreadsheet works, right? And within the application, when we're building the app, that's exactly what it does. Now, then when I click out of that, it says, are you sure you want to change the status to rejected and notify Paul Horn? You say yes to that, it's going to send an email. So yes, from within the application, we can also send emails, and this is by default. You basically put in your SMTP server information, and it will allow you to go out and send an email. And then from there, that would go back to goes back to the sales rep. They realize, oh my God, I got rejected. I need to go in and do something with it. And those emails can be full HTML formatted as well. So again, art of the possible, something that you can build, something that you can design. And this is just, again, another version of an application, that you could dream up, something where you're trying to solve a problem like this, multiple spreadsheets, putting them into an application in order to manage it. And to extend it maybe into your application, you could read the sales information from your existing ERP, or it could be from the data lake where you've stored that information off. So we can interact with that as well. So there's lots of ways to do these integrations, and you'll note that I'm saying, API is sort of the thing, but we also supply those same APIs for things that are provided as part of OS, which would be data lake would be one of them. So there's a sales budget example, again, standalone, but doesn't have to be. So next, let's talk about, applications that already exist on top of the Mongoose framework, for which Sightline and Factory Track are two of the products that are built on top of Mongoose. And just to give you a flavor for what something would look like there, this is a standard form inside of Sightline, but it's really based on, kind of general Mongoose look and feel. And I'm going to come in here and unfilter. So one of the interesting things is that when you are first put into a Mongoose form, you're instantly in filter mode, which means that every field on the screen is filterable. So if I went back into that filter mode and I said, hey, my status, oops, let me put it back into filter mode, and I change my status to ordered, and then unfilter, every record that I've now picked is going to be in an ordered status. So just an interesting thing. And this is built in. The product provides that. When you go to build your first form over top of a data source, the ability to do this filter in place is built into that as well. So now that would be for localized data. If you had an API, you can connect that, but then it would be an extra step in order to provide the filtering capability to the API. But the point would be is that you get this filtering of data that's localized, that is tables that exist inside of the product as part of that development. And there's no development that you have to do for that. It just happens magically. So we can navigate through here. You can navigate your records, navigate the parent-child relationships between them as well. If we just go back and change our status to just open, so we'll just get rid of this status so that we can see everything again. So we see all the data that's contained in here. Things that I can also do, I can create a report. Mongoose has a built-in report writer, so you can create an order verification off of this. I went ahead and did this beforehand. You can create it to PDF. These then get exchanged with IDM instantly, so you can configure that so that it posts all of the reporting that you do to IDM. And like I said, Mongoose has this report writer built in, and because of that, we can interact with Infor OS natively, and we can post these PDFs directly into there so that they're searchable in your document management, which is important. Other things, pay with a credit card. If you wanted to have an interaction with a credit card producer, now this is not something that's built into Mongoose, it is something that Sightline's built, but they've built this on top of APIs for those, for a credit card producer, or credit card processor, I should say, and allow for payment of this order with that credit card. So that's kind of neat. Anyways, I'm not here to show you about Sightline today, but what I do want to show you is that you can build everything from that widget, small widget type interactions, all the way to a fully fledged enterprise capable ERP that we actually produce inside of our cloud suite. Okay. So that takes us to a very interesting portion. So we're going to leave the browser now, and I'm going to let's minimize this, minimize that, and we're going to look at a phone. So in addition to creating applications that you can, widgets and standalone applications and extensions and obviously enterprise applications, you can also build phone apps. So we're going to go through a phone interaction, and we're going to use another product that we have called Infor Go. So Infor Go is our mobility solution, and it is available to Cloud Suite. So if you want, you can download this, and it gives you the same access that you would have to Portal. Now you could run Portal inside of a browser on your phone, and the same Portal experience that you get would be then minimized for your phone, but the widgets, for example, all then get repositioned so that they fall within a single column, etc. We're actually working on a lot of neat things for mobile with Portal coming in the April release. We're going to have some neat interactions where you'll be able to, within a workspace, specify whether you want the widget to be available for phone or just for desktop or for both. So it's kind of something interesting that's coming. But anyways, back to the Infor Go application, it interacts with Portal as well and allows you to interact with your applications on top of that. But one of its neat tricks is that for iOS and Android, when you click into this, it does the same SSO or single sign-on capability that you have, but it adds in biometrics. So when I click into it, and I'm not going to look at my phone, but you're going to see that it's going to be looking for my face, right? It's looking, okay, I'm going to look. And that's the authorization. So beforehand, I've already come in, I've added in my username, I've added in my password. I'm authorized for use of the application. But on top of it, I added in biometrics, which is in this case for iOS is facial recognition, which is kind of neat. So it automatically picks that up and logs you in. So to talk a little bit more about that, with SSO, it not only gives you access into the portal, into the cloud, into your cloud suite, it gives you access to any applications that you build on that as well. So Mongoose pays attention to that too. And we'll talk a little bit more about where the data sits, etc. But realize that anything that you build on top of Mongoose is available inside of the application in a very secure manner. So I'm just going to click down here and log into Mongoose, right? And because I've already given it my credentials, now here I have to pick a configuration, but I've already given it my credentials through my facial recognition, so it allowed me into Mongoose. But even further than that, I can build an application, and in this case, it's going to be this proof of delivery app here at the bottom here. When that's a full screen application. So it's posted out of Mongoose, created in there. We give it a shortcut in the application menu, and it takes me directly into my proof of delivery app. And you'll notice this is kind of looking a little bit mobile-like, right? I can scroll it with my thumb. and see all of my deliveries. So let's talk about this application a little bit just for a second. So this was kind of something we've been asked for numerous times. Hey, I've got all my orders sitting inside of my ERP, and I can extract that information into Mongoose, but it'd be really cool if I could build a mobile app that I could hand to my delivery driver and essentially give him the list of all the places that he has to go and do the deliveries. So kind of creating a proof of delivery app was something that we thought would be fun. And just to speak to this, and we'll talk about this, but I gave this project to a person on my team, and we'll talk about that at the end, but we'll come back to it. But anyway, so imagine this scenario where you're building out this list of things that need to be delivered. And of course, we get deliveries every day, so you kind of know how this works. But this is a list. I'm probably going to make this we call it a milk run. You want to optimize it so that it's the next thing in the list is close by to where you are, those types of things. But even with that, if I click into this delivery, I might need directions to where I'm going. So I could click view map. And what this is doing is really just creating a URL, right? That when you're on a phone just happens to open up the mapping application that you're using. So it's going to give you the directions to wherever you need to go, right? So it's using the data that's stored from your application. We've surfaced it inside of Mongoose with an API, or maybe localized that data. We're using then the address information as part of the URL to Google. And then Google Maps opens and shows you the location and also tells you how you can get there. So it's kind of taking advantage of a few pieces of it instead of just sitting inside of the application. It's actually making use of other pieces of the OS, the phone application. And again, because it's just a URL and the phone's doing the interpretation of it, it just works on whether it's iOS or Android. So from there, I get to the location of where I'm going. I hit the deliver button, and hey, I'm gonna take a photo of the package that I just delivered, and I'm gonna hit the take a photo. And because of the interaction that we get with iOS, if you hit select file while you're inside of here, it asks you, do you want to pick from your photo library or choose a file, or hey, can I take a picture of something? So I'm going to take a live photo of my delivered item, right? This is sitting outside. I'm going to use that photo and I'm going to upload it. So it's actually going to save this into the database. So we can save binary values into the database, and I can save that. And then maybe after I've taken that photo, I might also need to get a signature, right? So I throw my signature on there and hit save. That signature, by the way, is part of our soft toolkit, where you can bring in JavaScript components, add it into the toolkit, and then surface them. So even with our toolkit, which is fairly extensive, we don't have a get signature component. You can add your own. And again, those are JavaScript pieces that can be added in. So if you don't know what any of that is, and it sounds techy, it is, but for the technical people out there, you have that capability of extending the application. And anyways, we can complete the delivery at that point, and you'll note that it now shows as delivered on my list there. Very, very simple interaction, but one that we're all very familiar with, and it's kind of a common one. And again, you could extract information from your ERP to populate this, and then make it available. And again, this is in an online mode. So it's writing that information directly back to the database. If you then wanted to have it publish that information back into the ERP, again, using the APIs, you could do that with the Mongoose framework. Okay, so just a quick talk about this application and how quickly it was delivered. I did this presentation at TechX in the fall. And a few days before, my top developer, Caitlin Porter, had just come back from maternity leave. And she, hadn't done some things in a little while. So I thought, hey, this would be kind of a neat thing to try and build. Is it possible that we could deliver this, for my presentation? I think it was maybe next week. But, I thought I'd see how much time it would take her. This took a day. Now, this is Caitlin building it in a day. But that it's using the exact same tools that you would have available to you to build in a day. And with a lot of the automations that are there in order to do interactions, obviously things like the JavaScript tool might be something a little bit more complex, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility for you to develop as well. So anyways, when we're talking about art of the possible, this is what we're talking about, and not just art of the possible, but real-time, quick delivery of an application and build for your users. Okay, let's go back to PowerPoint mode, and we'll talk a little bit more about the actual application. What is Mongoose from a perspective of, hey, I'm going to build all these cool things, but how do I do it, and what's the pieces around it? So bottom line, Mongoose is a rapid application development framework. Traditionally, we've been a low-code framework. So as we see on the right-hand side here, we have our toolbox layout. It's something you might have seen if you've done any kind of development before. You drag your component into onto the canvas, and then you configure that component. But Mongoose is very deep this way. We don't just allow you to build out the screen. We're talking about all the other pieces that make up an application as well. Surfacing the data. So whether that data is an API, whether it is in the data fabric as data lake, whether it's a localized piece of data. And a lot of times we use the APIs to extract information, and then we localize it inside of our own database. So the Mongoose product comes with its own tables that you can create. And you can create those completely native, completely on your own, like within our tools. We give you the tools to do that. Basically, you are creating tables that have rows and columns to them. So very simple. So same as building a spreadsheet, right? That kind of thing. And associating data types, etc. Once you build the table, then we have another thing called an IDO, or intelligent data object, which is our mid-tier component. And that mid-tier component is where we can locate business rules that you might want to have with that data. We can put in automation workflow at that level as well. So if you change the value in that table, you can have it affect another value, do a custom calculation, look up information from another table of information or through an API. All of that is done at that mid-tier level. And then the mid-tier, that data source is what we use as the source of information for what you see on the front end. And that part is also, when we talk about low code, it's something, again, it's drag and drop and point and click. So the lower components, all of that is done with tools inside of the tool set, basically defining all of those things. In some cases, we can even run that as what we have as wizards. That's the no-code side of it. So when you're building those tables and building the IDO, you can run something called the new data maintenance wizard. And that basically steps you through the entire thing by asking you questions. So you don't have to go to individual pieces of the application in order to build things. You can go straight to that, and it will build not only the table, the IDO, it'll even give you a shell of the form as well. So there's lots of capability in there. You can start as a no-code user that basically runs these wizards essentially through in order to build an application. You can start at the low-code side of it, and build the pieces and then come to the actual designer. Or if you really need to get into the nuts and bolts of it, once you have it, all of those things established, you can get in and do full code and do full manipulation of the objects as well. You don't have to, though. In a lot of cases, you can build a fully functional application without ever touching or seeing anything that looks any way, shape, or form codey. So just to talk to no code, low code, full code. As I said, we are Infor's extensibility solution, and that's for all of Infor. So it doesn't matter what cloud suite you have. If you have Business Essentials and greater, you have entitlement to Mongoose, and we'll talk about that at the end. What you have is Mongoose Platform as a Service, or a PaaS application. So essentially, Platform as a Service is the deliverable for you if you're doing extensibility, but we also have SaaS, and SaaS is what Sightline and Factory Track and a few other products that we've got as well coming along, partner products specifically, will be delivered as that SaaS product. So those are things where you actually get a SKU attached to them, and they get delivered to you as a functional application in the cloud, but built on top of the Mongoose platform. So where would you use Mongoose PaaS, or what type of applications are you going to build? Well, it allows you to build out solutions to fill business gaps. Now, I come from an implementation background, and when we were doing implementations of ERPs, kind of the foundation of that is the 80-20 rule. You want 80% of your business problems solved by that ERP solution. Now, hopefully for you, Infor is doing better than that and getting closer to 90 or 95 or 99%. But there's always going to be something that makes your business unique and special. And those are the things that we solve by using Mongoose. And again, this goes back to the art of the possible. If you have something within your business, the core of your business, that any ERP can't solve, that's where you can use Mongoose to develop simply something on top of your existing ERP data to take advantage of that data or not, and build out the functionality that you need. And put that functionality in a spot where it sits right beside your business system data and allow for extensibility of your business solution. And that's it. It's really all about trying to make your life easier, bring things like those spreadsheets, bring them into the solution, take advantage of the existing data that you have in the ERP and leverage it either in a specific way to solve a problem that may not have been covered by the ERP, or it might give you new avenues to consider to say, hey, if we took advantage of that data and we put it together with this information, maybe we could create something that's even better than what we had before, or what we want into the future. So again, it's solving those business problems and closing those business gaps in order to make your ERP solution that much more effective for you. And of course, we've shown you can build widgets, standalone solutions, apps, mobile apps. All of these things are capable with Infor Mongoose. Another thing, it's instant deployment, no compile. Everything's stored inside of a database. You go in and develop a brand new application. The second you hit save and assign users to it, it's available to them. For products like Sightline and Factory Track, we actually offer the ability to do personalization of their forms. And those are available as well immediately. So the second that they hit save, they have access to the information that's been changed, and that personalization is upgradable. We call that upgradable extensibility. So if Sightline changes their application, you've moved a field, added a new field, added new information onto the screen, it's maintained in the next version automatically. That upgradable extensibility is important to them. Now, obviously, from platform as a service, if we upgrade Mongoose underneath your solution, that also is upgraded because it's always backward compatible. And any new features that we have in the application, you can now take advantage of. So you're always up to date. There's no compiling. Basically, we upgrade the system on a monthly basis underneath it. And again, if your application was working last month, it should continue working next month. And if you want to add the new features that we release, in April and October, you can take advantage of that as well. Another important thing, it's a cloud-safe development framework. Basically, anything that you develop is safe. We test the system, we white hat test to make sure that hackers can't take advantage of it. The data sits right beside your business data, so it's just as secure as the data you have. Again, it pays attention to all of that single sign-on capabilities. You actually do sign into Mongoose. You're authenticated in the exact same way that your primary cloud suite is. All of that is carried over, so there's no differentiation between these. It's the exact same secure framework that you have for your existing data. As we said, the development is upgradable, backward compatible. Every month we upgrade, and that just happens automatically. As I said, it's a metadata-driven rendering of that information. So as it's stored into the database and immediately stored in the database, the next time you access it, it gives you whatever the new feature is that you've added into your application. Now, of course, we break that up that you might want to do that in some test and development platform or environments before you actually promote it into production. But if you're willing to live on the edge, you can do full development inside of the production environment as well. I think most of this we've already mentioned. Again, the biometrics with Infor Go, I think that's a really neat feature, and that's for all of your product. But hey, the fact that Mongoose can take advantage of it is important as well. And as you saw, one development satisfies all devices, and one development satisfies basically whether you're developing in the cloud or Mongoose has a long history. You can install Mongoose in an on-premise environment, develop something there and bring it to cloud. We don't really promote that anymore, but the one code base for all of this is there in that you can do that type of development. It's the exact same code base that we use to develop widgets all the way to enterprise. If you're developing for desktop, for tablet, for mobile, you can use responsive design. We have tools inside of Mongoose that allow for responsive design so that it can automatically size for any of those devices as well. As far as integrations, obviously we want to have all of the integrations that we give with the tech stack. So that's document management, the data fabric, ions. If you want to create BODs or receive BODs from your application, you can do that as a part of the import of information instead of using APIs, or you can use the API gateway. So anything that's defined in there. And again, we provide no-code tools on top of that stuff in order to allow you to point to the suite, point to the API that you want to take in. We allow for input into those parameters. And then obviously the resulting output goes into one of our mid-tier IDOs where you can then build a form on top of it to see that data. So lots of integration capability there, and lots of use of the existing tech stack as we have it. I think we've covered a good bit of this too. Some unique data visualization tools. Like I said, we have a built-in report writer. That's important, so you can build reports on top of the data that you have inside of the application. But we also provide a neat thing called data views, which allows you to do some slice and dice of stuff like that and critical numbers. These are all things that allow you to do some level of BI, not to the level of burst, but if you want to do some simple BI over top of the data that you have there, you can do that. Definitely worth looking into as well. And of course, our integrated workflow engine. We can integrate with Ion workflows, but we can also contain workflows inside of our application event system. This is basically that mid-tier component where if you change one piece of data, you can have it affect another piece of data in another table, or do an operation or send an email or something of that sort. That workflow engine is very powerful as well and can react to data at any level. And so then any screen built on top of that piece of data, if any screen built on top of the data, if they make a change, then is affected at the data level, not just from the form screen level. As I said, ease of development with wizards. We really get into this, as you see the report builder over here. We're really concentrating on building a lot more wizards into the tool set so that you can just run these wizards. That's that no-code side of it, and we'll look at that in a minute. Of course, our point-and-click designer, that's the low-code side of it. So you drag and drop the tools, you basically bind to the data that you want to bind to. You can put in easy validation on those. You can have that conditional formatting that you saw there, conditional show hide, conditional required when, all of these things that don't require any code. Basically, they're just little widget pieces inside of the properties of a component that allow you to make it look like it's coded, but it's really just doing kind of if statement logic and things like that against the actual components using data that's already on the form. That's really important because that's where the low code side of this comes. Basically where you don't have to jump to code in order to write an if statement out on something. You can make it do stuff inside of the form directly. Multilingual capabilities baked into the development. So if you have strings, all of these labels that are on a form, you can develop in English and then you can give it a string translation value into Spanish, German, French, whatever that's going to be. You have to give it the translation, but then we use the language codes from IFS to tell us what language that user is using. And if they are using any of the languages that you've provided translations for, all the labels on the form will automatically be translated into that language for them. So again, you can do the development in English and you can maintain the strings separately, but the multilingual capabilities are all there. So you can do, if you've got different locations and different regions that use different primary languages, you can develop for those languages. And includes the Infor design system components, and we'll talk a bit more about that. The Infor design system is something that Infor has developed in-house, and I'm going to give you a really quick view of that in a little bit, but I want to get onto our demo. So let's talk about what's coming. I guess we'll do this first. The IDS component-based forms, that's really that IDS component that I'm talking about, that Infor design system. Basically, what they've done is they've built out components that are available to all of our applications and all of the tool sets that they use in order to build their applications. Mongoose has had that before, but not natively as part of our toolkit. We're actually coming out with a new IDS designer, which allows you to build these IDS-based forms. So this is a new toolbox. Everything else is the same, but you just get this new toolbox with a really great amount of components, a lot of components we didn't have before. So you get to now develop with these components. And the beauty part is that as Infor upgrades those components, we can take those libraries in and instantly upgrade any new look and feel for those components or new functionality. So not only is Mongoose, giving you new things, but we're getting new things from Infor directly, from our design system that we can take advantage of immediately. So again, and this allows all of the applications to make use of that information so that all of our applications look similar, right? They all have the same look and feel based on those components. And that's a really great thing going forward. Lightform's extensibility is something that we're looking forward to. So basically putting a bit more guardrails around the development experience, making it a real no-code experience with those guardrails to allow you to do extensibility in kind of a more light mode. So you don't get into the designer area. So really concentrating more on that no-code experience. We do have something along that lines as well. I'm going to show you a widget build today. But we have a new widget builder coming, and the widget builder replaces another piece of technology that we did have. But essentially, this is going to be allow you to build in a no-code fashion any widget. And we're going to come up with all kinds of templates that go with it. It really, really takes away the design experience where you don't have to go and touch something with a designer. It's literally stepping you through building out a widget and then automatically publishing it into the catalog and making it available into the workspace like I showed you earlier. And we will go through the build of a widget quickly in a minute. So we do already have it. Mongoose is already capable of doing this, but we're improving it in the April release. And finally, Gen AI. Of course, everybody has, that's the term of the day. But Gen AI, we're definitely looking at this, the ability to build forms using Gen AI and basically directed through prompts. That is the future of development, and that is where we're going, and we are actively investigating that and hope to have something real soon coming up with that. And sneak peek, those new IDS forms that we talked about, Sightline's already taking advantage of these. These are currently in development, so this hasn't been released yet. This is beta stuff, and it's stuff that we're going to be showing off in the next coming year. But I thought I'd give you a cool little sneak peek. This form is all IDS controls, and it has, if you're used to Mongoose development, you'll note that it's a really nice, crisp look and feel. Really, really looks good. It performs well, and this is something to look forward to in the coming year for Sightline and also for Mongoose, because this is the IDS form stuff that we're coming out with in April of this year. Okay, so let's get to build something. So we're going to be using Mongoose as it is today. All that cool stuff that I talked about, it is coming. It is something that we're all excited about, but we're going to use the existing builder today. So let's see, make sure that my session is still active here. I'm just going to do a reload. Okay, all good. And I'm just going to close out a few things. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so let's close this and reopen it because I talked too long. Okay, so we're back in here. I'm going to go to our Mongoose environment. So just in our list here. And I'm going to go to our runtime builder. And I'm going to set my scope. All of these are things, little things like this that you'll learn as you develop with Mongoose. But this is essentially building with a no-code widget builder. And as you can see, the time's coming up. We're getting down to it. So can we build something that is completely standalone in the time that we have left that allows you to build out a widget that's usable? That's really the exercise here. So I'm going to go into our responsive form builder. And this is going to start up a wizard-like experience here. I'm going to create something. So this is going to be PH. Let's see. This is going to be, let's say, a customer widget test, and we're just going to copy that because we'll want to see that later. And okay, so that's the name of the form. I'm going to go in here and I'm looking for MET customers. Well, of course, it's not going to give me MET customers. So this is an IDO. Remember, I talked about that earlier. There it is, MET customers. That IDO that I talked about earlier, this is just a data source that has the exact same customers that you saw earlier. The widgets inside of the workspace. I'm going to build a widget. So I'm going to select widget, and I have a whole bunch of different oops, I picked the wrong one. That figures. Okay. Let's try this. That's better. Oh, I'm not picking the right one yet. I'm sorry. Don't know what I clicked. There we go. List of icons. I must have picked the wrong one the first time around. Okay, so we're building a widget list that has icons similar to what we saw with that customer list. We're going to rebuild that. So I'm going to click next. Now it's showing me all of the available fields that I have in that MET customers IDO. So I'm going to go and pick the, I'm going to look for custom just happened to pop up. I'm going to go and select name. There we go. Pick name, put it over there. And I'm also going to pick the logo optimized. So I've got three things that I'm going to display. I've got a customer number, I've got a name, and I've got a logo. I'm going to click next. Those are the properties that are going to be in here. Of course, I could pick 100 properties that might be there. And if I did, then I'd get this position fields that would be here. And it allows me to basically pick where I want to list the information on that form. I'm going to click finish. And I know that sounded real simple, but basically it's created my widget already for me, right? So here it is, giant form, sitting over here. And this is now available. I can now use it. So if I was to go back over, let's look at, where is this? Okay, that's good. Let me go. Let's go here and we'll look at our workspaces. And we're going to add in a brand new workspace, and we're going to say it's a new workspace, and it's Paul Customers workspace. Of course, we can create a widget workspace here, and we just give it an icon. You can create blank workspaces. Anybody can do this if you have the security privileges to do this. Your end users could do this. Your power users could do this. You're building out a workspace. And from here, we're going to add in widgets. I'm going to look for a Mongoose widget. Now, if it was automatically posted to the catalog, and this is the new future version of this, that will allow this to actually show up in the catalog instantly. But in this case, I'm just going to add in the Mongoose form runner widget and save that. This allows me to configure this widget on the page. And you'll note that it adds in some stuff that I already have, like the configuration that I'm already attached to. That form name that I saved earlier is important because I need to have that in order to display the widget in my workspace. But I also have some other things in here, like the initial command. Remember, I talked about that filter in place. If you had a form-based widget, you can have it show up in filter in place mode, or you can just have it refresh the data automatically. You can also feed it additional parameters if that's made use of. And when we talk about that in context capability, this is where you would put the in context messaging variables that basically get exchanged between the two. We didn't add that to our widget. That's something that's going to come that will allow you for the no code side of it in our widget builder that's coming out in April. So you don't have to code for it. It's something that would be built in, just to note that here. So anyways, once I hit save, I should see, ta-da, I actually have my widget there. So again, pretty basic thing I did here, and I did do this in complete no code. We didn't talk at all about, going into the designer and doing all the cool things that you can do with the full extensibility of Mongoose. But we'll talk about where you can get training in order to learn all of those things. But from a no code perspective, you can attach to data existing inside of an application. You can basically run one of these wizards, and again, we're improving those, that allows you to go and build out a widget, add a widget into a workspace. You can have that then drive other information that's contained within your page. Allows you to do drill backs, all of these fun things. You got a lot of capability here, not just for building out widgets, but obviously for building out all kinds of other applications that you might want to dream up. Okay, so with that, and we're coming up on our time, what's the key takeaways from all of this? First off, customer entitlement. If you have Cloud Suite Business Essentials and above today, you have access to Mongoose. Now, you probably won't see it in your OS tab. If you want to go looking for it, you can look in your OS tab and it should show up there as Mongoose. If it isn't there, you can have it provisioned for you. You have entitlement to it. And again, there's a limitation on the Business Essentials side. It's 400 users with 20 development users. Lots of room there. So basically, if you're a Business Essentials or above, you have lots of room in order to build out an application or build out Mongoose applications today. So it's a support call in to provision for your tenants. So you want to make sure this is for your, if you have a dev, test, prod, whatever tenants you have, you want to make sure that you get them provisioned for all of your tenants so that you can do production development. But if you want to test it, you might want to stick out and test as you're learning, etc. You can have it provisioned to your tenants, and from that point forward, you have access to it. So I encourage you to do that and move forward. Anyways, and we are going to include hopefully a link with this, the recording with this. Basically, we're giving you access to the Mongoose Resource and Training Guide. It's a PDF, and essentially it gives you links to documentation. It has a Hello World video training. It's an 8-part series that's in YouTube that you can go through, where you can see how you build out simple applications with Mongoose, and it steps you through that. We also have campus training available, Developing Applications Foundation 1 and 2. They're a week-long each. Basically, the first week gets you into a position where you can be dangerous. The second week kind of reins that in and makes you productive. And we are looking at adding in additional potential courses along the way as well, maybe an advanced training that you might see pop up in the near future. We also have links to an Extensibility YouTube playlist in this resource training guide. It's got over 100 videos of us building stuff out and things that you can try out in there. A lot of it's been built on older versions of Mongoose, but all of that stuff, like I said, because it's backward compatible, it's all stuff that you can make use of even into the current version. And we also have links into the developer portal, as Ray mentioned earlier, developer.infor.com. So if you just want to go there and under application development, you'll find Mongoose. You can find out all of this information that's contained inside of this resource guide, plus a lot of other things that probably aren't included in there. I think there's some white papers and things like that. So with that, I think we're at time, and I will thank you all for listening to me for an hour ramble on. I really encourage you to go out there, get Mongoose, try it out, play with it, ask questions, be curious. That's the thing, right? All of this is about being curious. Leverage the information that you have and be productive. And I thank you for your time, and I hand it back to you, Ray.
Thank you, Paul. Wow, that was a great walkthrough and a really helpful introduction to Mongoose. And thank you to everyone who joined us today and for the questions that came in throughout the session. We'll do our best to respond to as many as possible, and for any questions we don't get to, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards and share responses in the developer community. As a reminder, today's session was recorded, and the recording will be available after the event. If you registered, you'll receive a follow-up email with a link once it's ready. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you found this session helpful. Have a great rest of your day.